Shane Jones.
So I would first like to say to those New Zealanders listening, they should drink to that speech. So I'm not entirely sure if it's white, red, rosé, but whatever it is, sir, it's led to flushed cheeks. So I want to stand and actually direct our attention to the name of this bill, superannuation. Now, sir, superannuation is actually closely related to the doing word, the verb to superannuate. To superannuate, sir, is to discard something that is obsolete or past its use-by date. Now, let me first, sir, direct my attention to the other side of the House. So we were worried that there's not a minister in the House. Now, we did see someone up in the far corner, sort of underneath a rose bush, but sir, then we looked across and we saw the Associate Minister for Local Government. Before, sir, I complete my story about superannuating, make sure, Associate Minister of Local Government, you have a good briefing, because I'm hoping to superannuate some people in the Whangarei District Council for their gross lapse of stewardship over infrastructure and civil works in Ruakaka. And why I mention, sir, Ruakaka, because in Māori it's two parrots. And I want to sort of direct my attention, sir, before I come back to the Kohanga Reo on Broglio, because there will be much superannuating taking place. There will be superannuating, sir, at the top of the Kohanga Reo governance structure, and that pains me, sir, because a host of those matuas are my relatives. But, sir, this is a more serious issue than whakapapa, as the Minister of Education has sought unsuccessfully, as she's soon to be superannuated by the boss when he gets home, she has sought to defend her relative, the matriarch of Ngāti Porou, Iritana Tawhiwhirangi, who most certainly will be superannuated, if not by the SFO, then, sir, by us in the political system, who will not spend another dollar on a governance structure in the Kohanga Reo head office enterprise until it's tidied up. So let me come back, however, to the Minister of Māori Affairs. Now, the Minister of Māori Affairs, sir, if there's anyone who should study with inordinate interest this bill and come and enjoy a come-to-Jesus moment with the term retirement and the verb of the word superannuation, to superannuate, it is him, sir. It's not for me to talk about the mystery surrounding the Malaysian airline in the context of superannuation. I, along with my parliamentary colleagues, am quite glued to learning what has happened to this enormously expensive and highly sought-after aircraft. I'm going to leave that to one side and enjoy watching CNN, but say that the minister is the political equivalent of a lost aircraft. We don't know his political whereabouts. So there are occasional blips when he comes to earn his pay, in the whare pāremata. So the fact that Hone Harawira is now here more often than he is actually not only a tragedy, sir, for the Minister of Māori Affairs role, it is actually, sir, an achievement for democracy, because for the last 9 years we've never seen so much of Hone Harawira. Now, sir, this bill, and I've heard my colleague from the Green Party, parliamentary colleague, should I say, from the Green Party, refer to it, sir. I've heard him talk about this particular bill providing an opportunity for a bunch of subsidiary investments into key areas. Now, whilst that is important, we should never overlook the fact, sir, as that member said today in the forestry meeting, if foreign direct investment continues to flow into key sectors, and indeed, sir, it may continue to flow into the dairy sector, but it's certainly in the forestry sector, why should it continue if those investors have no commitment to the New Zealand supply chain? If those investors have no commitment to enabling the tertiary and secondary industries associated with that commodity business, i.e. the growing of trees and the sale of logs. And on that point, sir, I must say that the leader of the Green Party spoke a great deal of sense today in relation to the bill. Well, actually, now that the member from Waikato has perked up, let me say the Minister of Forestry, the Associate Minister, was grossly outwitted today, sir, by the representatives of the Contractors Federation. Now that gives you an indication of how irrelevant her speech was today. She made the fatal error of defending, sir, the investment into the dairy sector via the irrigation subsidy. Now, sir, I personally have no political difficulty with that being chosen as a way of deepening either our superannuation reservoir of investment opportunities, but call it for what it is. It is the provision of public money to underwrite the costs of irrigation, which will create a tremendous opportunity for the expansion of agribusiness. Now, sir, my only problem with that is that no one is offering that to my old industry, the fishing industry. No one is offering that to the forestry industry. Indeed, sir, the forestry industry has been turned down 5 times over recent months in making applications under the grant scheme that has been plundered by the dairy industry or a small group of people in control of other rural commodity businesses. Now, sir, politically, I can understand that. That's the name of the game. When you're in power, you reward the people who gave you power. Now, that's fine. All I'm saying, sir, don't roll out an argument that it is incorrect for our side of the House to want to grow the Māori presence in forestry, create jobs, train young men and women for that particular business, move it up into a more dynamic and valuable state. Don't say that we're picking winners, yet it's good enough to write a cheque out for Warner Brothers. Why is it good enough, sir, to provide superannuation opportunities for Hollywood investors, but it's not good enough for the Māoris and the God-fearing Kiwis in Ruatoria, Kaikohe, Kaitaia and a variety of other places neglected by the current regime? That's why, sir, that whilst this bill, now let me come back to the bill, whilst this bill provides some structural changes until such time capital flows into those areas that have become neglected, and I'm not talking about dairy farmers, they have got their opportunity to enjoy their chance while the sun shines upon them. It's just that their fortunes are going to change when we govern, because we're not going to allow water be treated as some resource whose greatest contribution to society is its absorptive capacity to deal with waste. We're not going to be allowing it, sir, to be a free resource, the value of which is then capitalised into land resources that when they're eventually sold, there's no capital gains tax. Now, so we might be voted out and never voted in for such ideas, but there'll be no ambiguity, sir, about those particular ideas. Now, I say that as someone who grew up on a farm. I say that as someone who's very proud and is a great promoter, sir, of our rural sector and our agribusiness, agricultural industries. But unfortunately, their level of guardianship and their level of leadership in convincing the rest of Kiwis that they don't deserve to be regulated, that their qualities of stewardship don't deserve any political oversight, unfortunately, has come and gone. Now, they're safe, sir. They're safe while that side of the House is there. They're safe while the Prime Minister will do the bidding. Not the bidding of the meat industry, not the bidding of the wool industry, the bidding, sir, of the milking industry. Because if there's any group who have developed a hugely sophisticated way to milk resources out of the public sector, it is the $400-odd million, sir, that is delivered by way, sir, of grants for research purposes. It's the collapse of the ETS scheme where the dairy industry has enjoyed a get-out-of-jail card for free. Not the meat industry, not the wool industry, not the fishing industry, and as of today, sir, not the forestry industry. But rest assured, help is on its way. There's no help in terms of what the Associate Minister of Primary Produce had to say today. So this has been a free-ranging debate. We've invited our colleagues on the other side of the House to contemplate being superannuated. I've guaranteed that the Māori Party, as a consequence of their shameless behaviour and undermining the process of appointing the new Chief Executive Officer of Māori TV, designed wholly to stop Māori TV from exposing the failure of the current government in its Māori affairs policy and wider matters pertaining to Māoridom, they will go. And when they go, sir, they can take Georgina Te Heu with them. Kia ora tātou katoa.
Mr. Speaker.
I call the honourable member